Oh, hi. How are you? Are you ready for another bit of our read along of Wind in the Willows, written by Kenneth Grahame? I am reading from the Wordsworth edition, and tonight we're going to be starting on page 72, which is actually the start of chapter 4, Mr. Badger. So get your copy, whatever edition you've got, and I'll meet you at the start of chapter 4. Here we go. They waited patiently for what seemed a very long time, stamping in the snow to keep their feet warm. At last they heard the sound of slow, shuffling footsteps approaching for the door from the inside. It seemed, as the mole remarked to the rat, like someone walking in carpet slippers that were too large for him and down at heel, which was intelligent for Mole, because that was exactly what it was. There was the noise of a bolt shot back, and the door opened a few inches, enough to show a long snout and a pair of sleepy, blinking eyes.
"Now, the very next time this happens,"
said a gruff and suspicious voice,
"I shall be exceedingly angry. Who is it this time disturbing people on such a night? Speak up."
"Oh, Badger," cried the rat, "let us in, please. It's me, Rat, and my friend Mole. We've lost our way in the snow."
"What? Ratty, my dear little man," exclaimed the badger in quite a different voice. "Come along in, both of you, at once. Why, you must be perished. Well, I never lost in the snow, and in the wild wood too, and at this time of the night. But come on, come in with both of you."
The two animals tumbled over each other in their eagerness to get inside, and heard the door shut behind them with great joy and relief. The badger, who wore a long dressing gown and whose slippers were indeed very down at heel, carried a flat candlestick in his paw and had probably been on his way to bed when their summons sounded. He looked kindly down on them and patted both their heads.
This is not the sort of night for small animals to be out," he said paternally. "I'm afraid you've been up to some of your pranks again, Ratty. But come along, come into the kitchen. There's a first-rate fire there, and supper and everything."
He shuffled on in front of them, carrying the light, and they followed him, nudging each other in the anticipating kind of way, down a long, gloomy, and, to tell the truth, decidedly shabby passage into a sort of central hall, out of which they could dimly see other long tunnel-like passages branching, passages mysterious and without apparent end. But there were doors in the hall as well, stout, oaken, comfortable-looking doors. One of these the badger flung open, and at once they found themselves in all the glow and warmth of a large fire-lit kitchen. The floor was a well-worn red brick, and on the wide hearth burnt a fire of logs between two attractive chimney corners tucked away in the hall, well out of any suspicion of draught. A couple of high-backed settles facing each other on either side of the fire gave further sitting accommodation for the sociably disposed. In the middle of the room stood a long table of plain boards placed on trestles with benches down at each side. At one end of it, where an armchair stood pushed back, were spread the remains of the badger's plain but ample supper. Rows of spotless plates winked from the shelves of the dresser at the far end of the room, and from the rafters overhead hung hams, bundles of dried herbs, nets of onions, and baskets of eggs. It seemed a place where heroes could fitly feast after victory, where weary harvesters could line up in scores along the table and keep their harvest home with mirth and song, or where 2 or 3 friends of simple tastes could sit about as they pleased and eat and smoke and talk in comfort and contentment. The ruddy brick floor smiled up at the smoky ceiling. The oaken settles, shiny with long wear, exchanged cheerful glances with each other. Plates on the dresser grinned at pots on the shelf, and the merry firelight flickered and played over everything without distraction. The kindly badger thrust them down on a settle to toast themselves at the fire, and bade them remove their wet coats and boots. Then he fetched them dressing gowns and slippers, and himself bathed the mole's shin with warm water and mended the cut with sticking plaster till the whole thing was just as good as new, if not better. In the embracing light and warmth, warm and dry at last, with weary legs propped up in front of them and a suggestive clink of plates being arranged on the table behind, it seemed to the storm-driven animals now in safe anchorage that the cold and trackless wild wood left just outside was miles and miles away, and all they had suffered in it a half-forgotten dream. When at last they were thoroughly toasted, the badger summoned them to the table where he'd been busy laying a repast. They had felt pretty hungry before, but when they actually saw at last the supper that was spread for them, really it seemed only a question of what they should attack first, where all was so attractive, and whether the other things would obligingly wait for them till they had time to give them attention. Conversation was impossible for a long time, and when it slowly resumed, it was regrettable sort of conversation that results from talking with your mouth full. The badger did not mind that sort of thing at all, nor did he take any notice of elbows on the table, or everybody speaking at once. As he did not go into society himself, he had got an idea that these things belonged to the things that didn't really matter. We know, of course, that he was wrong and took too narrow a view because they do matter very much, though it would take too long to explain why. He sat in his armchair at the head of the table and nodded gravely at intervals as the animals told their story, and he did not seem surprised or shocked at anything, and he never said,
"I told you so,"
or
"just what I always said,"
or remarked they ought to have done so-and-so, or ought not to have done something else. The mole began to feel very friendly toward him. When supper was really finished at last, and each animal felt that his skin was now as tight as was decently safe, and that by this time he didn't care a hang for anybody or anything, they gathered around the glowing embers of the great wood fire and thought how jolly it was to be sitting up so late and so independent and so full. And after they'd chatted for a time about things in general, the badger said heartily,
"Now then, tell us the news from your part of the world. How's old Toad getting on?"
"Oh, from bad to worse," said the rat gravely, while a mole, cocked up on the settle and basking in the firelight, his heels higher than his head, tried to look properly mournful. "Another smash-up only last week, and a bad one. You see, he will insist on driving himself, and he's hopelessly incapable. If he'd only employ a decent, steady, well-trained animal, pay him good wages and leave everything to him, he'd get on all right. But no, he's convinced he's a heaven-born driver, and nobody can teach him anything, and all the rest follows."
"How many has he had?" inquired the badger gloomily.
"Smashes or machines?" asked the rat.
"Oh, well, after all, it's the same thing with Toad."
"This is the 7th. As for the others, you know that coach house of his, well, is piled up, literally piled up to the roof with fragments of motor cars, none of them bigger than your hat. That accounts for the other 6, so far as they can be accounted for." "He's been in hospital 3 times, put in the mole, "and as for the fines he has to pay, simply awful to think of." "Yes, and that is part of the trouble," continued Rat. "Toad's rich, we all know, but he's not a millionaire, and he is a hopelessly bad driver and quite regardless of law and order. Killed or ruined, it's got to be one of the 2 things sooner or later. Badger, we're his friends. Oughtn't we do something?" The badger went through a bit of hard thinking.
"Now, look here," he said at last, rather severely. "Of course, you know I can't do anything now."
His 2 friends assented, quite understanding his point. No animal, according to the rules of animal etiquette, is ever expected to do anything strenuous or heroic or even moderately active during the off-season of winter. All are sleepy, some actually asleep. All are weather-bound, more or less, and all are resting from arduous days and nights during which every muscle in them has been severely tested and every energy kept at full stretch.
"Very well, then," continued the badger. "But when once the year has really turned and the nights are shorter and halfway through them one rouses and feels fidgety, wanting to be up and doing by sunrise, if not before, you know."
Both animals nodded gravely, they knew.
"Well then, we, that is, you and me and our dear friend the mole here, will take Toad seriously in hand.
We'll stand no nonsense." It's that badger voice.
We'll stand no nonsense whatsoever. We'll bring him back to reason by force if need be. We'll make him to be a sensible toad. We'll...
You're asleep, Rat. Not me, said the rat, waking up with a jerk. He's been asleep for 2 or 3 times since supper, said the mole, laughing, he himself feeling quite wakeful and even lively, though he didn't know why. The reason was, of course, that he was being naturally an underground animal by birth and breeding. The situation of Badger's house exactly suited him and made him feel at home, while the rat, who slept every night in a bedroom the windows of which opened on a breezy river, naturally felt the atmosphere still and oppressive.
Well, it's time we're all in bed,
said the badger, getting up and fetching flat candlesticks.
Come along, you two, and I'll show you your quarters. Take your time tomorrow morning. Breakfast at any hour you please.
He conducted the 2 animals to a long room that seemed half bedchamber and half loft. The badger's winter stores, which indeed were visible everywhere, took up half the room. Piles of apples, turnips, potatoes, baskets full of nuts and jars of honey, but the 2 little white beds on the remainder of the floor looked soft and inviting, and the linen on them, though coarse, was clean and smelt beautifully of lavender. The mole and the water rat, shaking off their garments in some 30 seconds, tumbled in between the sheets in great joy and contentment. In accordance with the kindly badger's injunctions, the 2 tired animals came down to breakfast very late the next morning and found a bright fire burning in the kitchen and 2 young hedgehogs sitting on a bench at the table eating oatmeal porridge out of wooden bowls. The hedgehogs dropped their spoons, rose to their feet and ducked their heads respectfully as the 2 entered. "Oh, there, sit down, said the rat pleasantly. "And please go on with your porridge. Where have you youngsters come from? Lost your way in the snow, I suppose?" Yes, please, sir," said the elder of the 2 hedgehogs respectfully. Me and little old Billy here, we was trying to find our way to school. Mother, she would have us go, was the weather ever so. And of course we lost ourselves, sir, and Billy, he got frightened. He took and he cried, being young and faint-hearted, and we happened up against Mr. Badger's back door, and made so bold as to knock, sir, for Mr. Badger, he's a kind-hearted gentleman, as everyone knows." "I understand," said the rat, cutting himself some rashers from a side of bacon, while the mole dropped some eggs into a saucepan. "And what's the weather like outside? And you needn't 'sir' me quite so much." "Oh, that's terrible bad, sir. Terrible deep that snow is," said the hedgehog. "No getting out for the likes of you gentlemen today." Where is the badger?" inquired the mole, as he warmed the coffee pot before the fire. "The master has gone to his study, sir," replied the hedgehog, "and he said as how he was going to be particular busy this morning, and on no account was he to be disturbed." This explanation, of course, was thoroughly understood by everyone present. The fact is, as already set forth, when you live a life of intense activity for 6 months in the year and of comparative or actual somnolence for the other 6, during the latter period you cannot be continually pleading sleepiness where there are people about or things to be done. The excuse gets monotonous. The animals well knew that Badger, having eaten a hearty breakfast, had retired to his study and settled himself in an armchair with his legs up on another and a red cotton handkerchief over his face, and was being busy in the usual way for this time of the year. There you go. That is another part of our read-along. Now, I waited to do our haiku challenge to get some more haikus in. I didn't get any more in. And now, looking at my comments, I can only see 2 haikus there, not including mine. I put one on there, so a total of 3. Was there more? Did I miss one? I don't know. But we'll have a little look anyway and see who wins a bunch of grapes. So, first of all, we've got a comment here from Melanie. She was looking at number 4. There's a lot of lyricism in his writing, as in Graham's. It's lovely. It is. I love to read it. I really do. What was that one we read recently? Possibly, I'm looking at my shelf is over there. Possibly it was the Wizard of Earthsea, wasn't it? Where I just could not get to grips with that style of writing. I could not get to grips with Le Guin's style of writing. But Graham's, that's something I can get on with. Oh, I do love it. I love it. But yeah, I agree. Here is Dragonfly. Dragonfly, here we go. So we'll do your haiku first, Dragonfly. 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables, all right? I'm not going to sit here and count it. I'm going to trust you, Dragonfly. Here we go. Autumn leaves drifting. Sun-kissed fiery jewels against the blue sky. That's not... Ooh, Dragonfly. Yes, yes, yes. I like that. I do like that. Autumn leaves drifting. Sun-kissed fiery jewels against the blue sky. Well done. Well done, Dragonfly. Dragonfly also says in the same message, what fun. We're supposed to get rain later in the week, but today it was blue sky, there you go, and soft autumn breezes. I never stopped to think about who talked and who didn't in Rat and Mole's world. I'm going to say there is a hierarchy. Insects and fish don't seem to be on the same level as rat, mole and otter, as the latter eat the former, if you follow me. I'm sure there are dragonflies on the river, and while I like to think they would talk, they'd be far too busy hunting to chat. And that's coming from a dragonfly themselves. Here is Vicky Fish 6508. Vicky Fish, Fishy Vic, loves the challenge. Fishy Vic. She couldn't sleep the other night. I hope that you slept now, Vicky Fish. Londonderry Dash. Isn't Londonderry an island? Been to Ireland. Londonderry Dash. Doc Martin's plod in the lane. Hunting art like game. Oh, there's even a little bit of a rhyme in there with the lane and the game. Look at you go. Now, I thought I had another. I thought there was a third. His has disappeared. Maybe I've replied to it already. Hang on. I can't remember what episode that was on. That was on episode 5. Hang on. Oh, Mr. S. You are silly. I know. I've got to try and find number 5 now. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'll pause it in a minute. I'll do some more comments and I'll pause it in a minute, all right? And I'll find to see if there was another one. I'm sure there was. Thanks, Mr. S. This is Mary Bull. Lovely Mary. Thanks, Mr. S. Lovely reading. Looking forward to meeting Mr. Badger in the next chapter. So long since I read the book, I do not remember how it goes at all. Not done a haiku. Mary, I think youngest son would be better at it than me. Okay. Though he is more into with sketching. He'd probably write one in Japanese. Blimey. I do love the old Japanese aesthetic of things. Floyd bought a poster the other day, and you know that wave, the great wave, the big wave, whatever it's called. That's how much I'm into the Japanese aesthetic. It was just pretty. There was that on there, and it was like loads of different scenes all put into one. And yeah, like the architecture, the lovely blossoms. I do love it. I do. I'll never go. But yeah. Here's Dragonfly again. Dragonfly on number 6 now. Each episode has me saying, oh, this is my favourite part of the story. Also, I think we could all do with a friend like Rat. Looking forward to meeting Mr. Badger tomorrow. Well, I'm no Rat, but I am definitely a Mr. Badger. He does not like people, does he? Although he's very kindly and will look after people. He does not like that social. Like he's got his party going. He's gone up to have a little sleep and lock himself away in a separate room, hasn't he? Hello. That sounds very Mr. S there. Right, I'm just going to pause it again, all right? So I'm not saying goodbye. I'm just going to pause it so I can see if there is another haiku. I'm sure there is. There wasn't. Oh, I must be imagining things. Oh, well. Right, so let's have a little chinwaggery then before I disappear. What have you been up to today? I went to work this morning just because I had some bits to do. So that's 2 days in a row now. I'm not going tomorrow, though. So I went to work this morning. I read some more book earlier on. What was I reading today? I think I was reading a bit more of my tarot book I was reading earlier on. Just having a look-see. And also... I've been carrying on, Melanie, you'll be pleased with this one, carrying on with Bujold. Bujold? Lewis McMaster Bujold. I'm on the next now. I can't remember what it's called, but I've done Cordelia's Honour. I'm looking because it's over there. I've done Cordelia's Honour. So now I'm on the next one. I can't remember what it's called though. Apologies, but yeah, there you go. That's where I am, and that's what I've been doing today. It's a little bit gloomy again outside today. Drama last night. Around this time of year in the United Kingdom, there's lots of fireworks just because November the 5th is coming around the corner. And so people think it's like November the 5th. Well, it must be October the 29th. And say fireworks all of the time. And they didn't start last night till the whole household was in bed. So you can imagine I'd put Ringo, the cat, out for the night. I don't know where he went, bless him. He was out there somewhere with them. But Zero, he's not allowed upstairs, old Zero. Zero's my dog. And I could hear him skulking about at the bottom of the stairs. And I thought, bless him, he'll be all right. And then next thing I know, I could hear something upstairs. And I was like, But you know those nights where you're so blooming tired that nothing, like you wake up, gosh, the house is on fire, and you're still asleep again. That was me last night. Next thing I heard, at my bedroom door, and I was like, what's going on? So I went and had a look, and poor old Bo is standing out there. The dog had only gone into his bedroom and tried to get in bed with him. Zero is a big black Labrador. And yeah, he tried to get in bed with Bo. So then I got up this morning, like I sent Zero downstairs, and Bo was like, I'll just go and watch a cartoon or something. I was like, mate, it's 11:30. So but Bo did, because he's a good boy. And then I got up this morning, and Bo's fast asleep on the couch with the dog curled up next to him. I was like, get off the couch, dog. Bo, you fell asleep. Oh, I didn't mean to. Bless him. So hopefully tonight, no fireworks. Just going to leave the radio on or something tonight, I think, downstairs, just to kind of drown out any whistles and bangs from outside. So yeah, that's it, really. That's it. All right, okay. What can you tell me? I'm not going to set another challenge because only 2 of you joined in with that, so you can feel like you've been chastised there. But I will ask you, what are you dressing up as tomorrow? October the 31st tomorrow. What's going to be your fancy dress? Let me know. And you know I'm going to ask for pictures. I bet you can't put pictures on here, but you put them on the Discord.